Oh, hello, and welcome to Game Creation. So, we've kind of set this up that this week we will be creating the tiles, and this is the final video where we actually create all of the tiles, which will be fantastic. So, last video we created a row of tiles, and we can make it as big as we wanted, but this time we're going to finish it off and make sure that we've got not only the top row, but all of the other rows as well. We've got to be careful about the words we use for Fastloops because this is something that even now I get really confused with unless I'm really precise about the way I name things. But let's go to the screen. So we've opened up the project that we were working on last time. Double click on the frame and go to the event editor. And you can see here we've got a nice little loop here just creating tiles, but it's only doing the top row. And if I run it now, it's just doing the top row, doesn't do anything else, but we have made sure that the player always goes to the front, which is good. So what we want to do is we want, whenever this one's created here, or well, what we want to do is we want to do this row and then another row and then another row. Okay, now you could think, well, maybe we do something weird where when it gets to the 15th, which is how many we want to create, we then move it down here in the same fast loop. There are actual ways of using one fast loop when you learn about modulus and all sorts of things. You can do it with one fast loop, but it's way easier to using something called nested loops. Now, nested loops just means there's a loop within a loop. So we're going to have a loop that's going to start here. This is going to be the first bit of the loop. It's then going to create all of this. Then that loop within the loop finishes and it starts the second one, right, for this loop, and then it's going to create all of this. Then it will make the third one and it will go create all of this, fourth one, etc. Okay, and that's the principle. So we don't want this to happen just once, we want this to happen loads of times. So we actually just, it's sometimes easier kind of maybe, I don't know, let's start here. So start a frame, so new condition. I'm going to pull this one up onto the top, and we want something to happen first because we want our like super loop, the one that's going to go down creating all these tiles. So we're going to have our fast loop, start loop, and we've got to think about what this could be called. So it's creating tiles, so I don't mind that bit. But what is it? Well, it's kind of creating them going downwards, isn't it? So it's going downwards. So it's effectively creating the columns. Okay, so it's creating the column, and it's going to happen once per iteration. It's going to create a row. So it's kind of create tile cols, maybe. It's the column number. But when you think about it, and if I go back, I'm just going to click OK. When you think about it, this will be the first one in the fast loop, the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. So the numbers here kind of correlate to the row number. So actually it doesn't make sense to say it's columns, it's actually the rows. And this is where I get even confused to this day. Luckily, I've done a lot of prep for this video, but you've got to make sure you've got the logic right about what you call that. So that actually will be the row number. So if we need the row number, we're looking at this one. And I could just put row instead of rows. Okay, and I'll pick 15 again, arbitrary number. I just needed to fill the screen. 15 definitely will. Okay, so this isn't going to be start frame anymore. I'm just going to click and drag this across to copy it, and I'm just going to double click on it, and I'm going to paste in my create tiles row. So every time a new kind of row is started, okay, every time we shift down, we're going to create 15 tiles across. Now think about these tiles here that are going to be created. Okay, let's just run it. This is the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. They're the kind of column numbers. Okay, so we want to call these, obviously, col. These are the col. Okay, click OK. Click OK. Paste that in. And don't forget we actually used it here as well. I think that's all we used it. Let me just check the other ones. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so the naming is really important because later on down the line we want to put an alterable value to these tiles because we're going to be comparing them to what state they should be in, basically what graphic they're going to show, whether they've been slashed with a sword or not, or whatever. And the way we do that, the way we identify which tile's which, is with these alterable values. We're not going to do that just yet, but it really pays to use names that really make sense. So I know when we're here, I can get the row number from that, and I can get the column number from that. But the exciting bit, running the application, so hopefully this works. I know it won't, but hopefully it will work, even though I know it won't. Oh, it's not working. So let's check. Active objects. Oh, there's loads of them. So it's definitely working because 15 times 15 is 225. So it definitely worked. But what we forgot to do is shift the Y. So if I go into here and have a look at this, what this is doing is it's working out what position on the X the tile has to be. So we look at the column number. So if it's 0, then it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and we times it by 64 to push it that far right. But we haven't done it with the Y. So position, set Y coordinate, and then paste that in. But this time it's not the column number. Y is all about how down it is. And don't forget as well that 0 is at the top of the screen and increases as you go downwards. It's the opposite way that you learnt in maths, or math, depending on which country you're in. Okay, let's run that and hopefully it will work perfectly. Brilliant. Let's see if I can walk around it. Yeah, looks good. Looks very good. And there we go. So the minimum viable product this week, the minimum objective was to make sure that we have a grid that is generated programmatically. You don't have to sit there copying these and trying to position them perfectly. I mean, that's what, 3 lines of code does it all for you. You don't need to sit there and, oh my goodness, when I started doing this I had to sit there and just move these and move next, and they never would be perfect. So when I run the game there were little gaps, little overlaps here and there. Nested fast loop sorts it all out. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.